And how could anybody possibly do any knife review without talking about the Buck 110? You'll see more Buck 110s used by hunters than probably all other knives combined in the United States. The design has basically gone unchanged since the early 1960s, and millions of hunters worldwide consider it to be the perfect hunting knife. You know, this particular knife right here, I bought this in the early 80s, you know, and I still use it. As a matter of fact, it's still my beater knife. Still very sharp, still locks good. You know, need to polish it and clean it up a little bit, but, you know, these 110s really last. You know, but the main allure of the Buck 110 knife is its value. I mean, the quality from materials to fit and finish is better than most custom knives, especially custom lockbacks. The knife also locks positively without any play at all, and will stay that way its whole life. The Buck is 100% American made, you know, in Idaho, and it carries a fantastic lifetime warranty. You know, you get all of this and a knife under $40. You know, and this knife is readily available in almost any sporting goods store. Buck's standard steel blade is 420 high carbon stainless that undergoes Buck's special Paul Boss heat treating process. So, like I said in the introduction, the heat treating process on a knife is 100 times more important than the steel used in the knife. And Buck really has their crap together with their heat treating process. Probably the best. You know, and I find that these Buck knives, you know, even with the standard 420 HC steel, you know, they hold an edge better than with the same steel used by other manufacturers such as Gerber and Leatherman. Actually, the basic 110 with 420 high carbon steel holds a better edge than a lot of 154 CM blades that I own. You know, the narrow clip point blade profile on the standard Buck tapers down to a thin point. And this makes the Buck 110 absolutely unrivaled at field dressing game. You know, especially when coring out the butthole on a deer. Buck also has a fast factory custom shop. You can design it, have it engraved, and pay for the thing completely online and have it shipped to your house. You know, you can opt for the tried and true 420 HC steel on a blade. You know, or you can upgrade to S30V steel. You know, or you can even go with a custom blade in 5160. You know, and handle material options, they're everywhere. You can get everything from antler to G10 scales to various types of wood, or like a cherry, or even this beautiful American oak. You know, they come with the clip point blade, but you can even have a drop point blade installed. The lockback design on the Buck is one of the best. And Buck, their fit and finish is so great. I mean, these things lock up perfectly tight. I mean, there's no play in this blade. And I bought this in, you know, the early 80s. You know, and for a hunting knife like this, you want a lockback. You don't want a liner lock in. Buck's lockback, man, I mean, it's just solid. There's no gaps. There's no play. It's the perfect lockback. You know, the only problem is, hey, you know, you can't open, you're not going to be able to open these with one hand. You know, big deal. Who cares? I'd rather have the safety and durability of a good lockback system. Speaking of that, what's also really cool and new this year is Buck now makes an auto opening 110 that has the speed and opening speed of a switchblade, but retains the form and function of a hunting knife. You know, still keeps the lockback, the same good lockback system. Look at that, no gaps. The fit and finish is just absolutely fantastic on these knives. You know, so now you can have a classic Buck 110. You know, you can open it effortlessly with one hand. You know, but without thumb studs or thumb holes or any crap like that, you know, that get in the way while you're dressing game. Be very mindful. In some states, this is considered an illegal switchblade. But if you live in states like Texas, Utah, or Idaho, you know, this would make a fantastic hunting knife. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I want to elaborate a little more on Buck's Custom Shop. You basically go online and build your own 110. I know knives are just simple tools, and a standard $40 Buck 110 isn't going to dress a deer any better than a $150 knife will. But some folks really like custom touches on an already functional knife and are willing to pay for it. You know, custom shop knives from Buck come in one of these cute little boxes with a metallic silver ribbon on it. You know, they're obviously appealing to the collector rather than the real world user, but this box is still a nice touch. The quality, fit and finish, you know, and attention to detail on these custom shop knives are unrivaled, I think. The material used, like this excellent elk antler right here, is just top notch. You know, and look at the differences in fit and finish. You know, this is a production nickel silver bolster, and this is a custom shop nickel silver bolster. I mean, look at the difference. The custom shop bolster is highly polished. All the edges are rounded off more. You know, it's little attention to detail like that really makes the difference. You know, Buck obviously goes the extra mile with these custom shop knives. You know, you can also pick your own special blade. You know, and Buck lets you know this was a custom shop blade. Let's see if you can see that. I know it's got a big mirror polish on it, but you know, it says custom knife shop on it. So also, these blades come scary sharp. They come much sharper than a regular production Buck 110 that you buy at Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods. So, if you think the Buck 110 is the perfect knife, yet you also have money to burn, a Buck custom shop knife might be worth it to you. Now we're going to elaborate a little bit about Buck 110 sheaths. Basically, Buck sells 4 different kinds of sheaths for the 110. First of all, there's the cheap polyester sheath that comes with the standard 110. This sheath comes with most of the standard 110s you buy at the sporting goods stores. You know, polyester and nylon are proven materials for wet environments and do a great job of resisting rot and decay. Polyester is also very lightweight and low profile. Now the drawbacks to nylon and polyester is that it isn't really as tough as leather. These synthetic materials are not very abrasion resistant and tend to wear out, tear, and fray at the seams much easier than leather does. These sheaths, as you can see, are also made in China. Then we have the standard grade leather sheath for the Buck 110. The standard grade leather sheath is a very good sheath that should last a long time. This sheath usually comes with special edition buck knives. And it's it's widely available for sale anywhere. You can buy these all over Amazon, eBay, the Buck site. I think they even sell them at a lot of sporting goods stores. You're going to have very few complaints about the standard sheath. And it's very comparable to leather sheaths offered by other manufacturers. The real downside of this sheath is, in order to keep costs down, these are made in Mexico. These aren't American made. So that brings us to the next item. This is the standard leather USA made sheath. This sheath usually comes with Buck's high dollar 110s like the 110 Elite. You know, at first glance, this sheath looks very similar, almost indistinguishable from the Mexican sheath. But as you can see, the USA made sheath, the leather is much thicker than the Mexican sheath. See if I can get these side by side here so you can see the difference. The leather used on the American sheath is probably about 25% thicker than the Mexican sheath. And you can see on the American sheaths, on the back of the sheath, it says made in the USA. The Mexican sheath doesn't say that. You know, and that brings us to another difference. The stitching for the belt loop on the American made sheath is lower than that on the Mexican made sheath. This allows you to use wider belts with the American sheath. You know, the belt loop hole's probably about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch bigger. So if you have the American made sheath, you can actually fit wider belts than with the Mexican made sheath. The fit and finish is also slightly different between these two sheaths. The Mexican made sheath, you know, it's got some sharp edges a lot of the time. You need to wear that down, maybe sand it, but it's got really sharp edges. Now the fit and finish on the American made sheath, it's super smooth. Everything's super smooth and rounded. So you can see a quality difference there too. And lastly, quite honestly, this might not mean anything to you, but it's something I noticed right off the bat with these sheaths, is that they smell different. The USA made sheath smells like leather, and the Mexican made sheath has a motor oil smell to it. Also, you'll notice that the button snaps are a little bit different. This looks like a brass snap, and this looks like a nickel silver snap. And finally, we have the USA made custom shop leather sheaths by Buck. These are made from top grain, distressed brown leather, and I'll tell you, it's got the softest texture of any sheath I've ever had. It's basically tough like other sheaths, but has a nice suede feel to it. The snap on it, see if you can see that. The snap is a fancy two-tone inletted snap that is different than any other snap that Buck uses. These sheaths also don't smell like oil or dye either. They have that perfect leather smell. kind of like a new pair of cowboy boots. And lastly, these sheaths will not tarnish bolsters like the black leather sheaths tend to do with time. You can order these really nice USA made sheaths directly from Buck's Custom Shop online for only $23. These are super nice. But the beauty of the Buck 110 being so prolific is that options for aftermarket sheaths are unlimited. You know, if you don't like the sheaths that Buck offers, you could find hundreds of different aftermarket sheaths available online and at stores. Personally, I really like the pancake style sheaths. These are really nice. But, you know, basically, that's the rundown on Buck sheaths. Everything from Chinese-made polyester to Mexican-made leather to USA-made leather to Buck's Custom Shop. You know, nowadays, everybody EDCs, you know, a Benchmade Griptilian or a Spyderco or a Rat or, you know, any other of the numerous clip folders similar to these, you know, with one-hand opening capability. But, you know, prior to the 2000s, the Buck 10 was actually the EDC knife of choice among most folks. You know, and it's not uncommon today to see old timers walking around with an old Buck 110 in their leather pouch. You know, these guys took their trusty 110 out when they needed to open a box, slice some rope, you know, cut a radiator hose, shotgun a beer, fillet a trout, you know, do any number of manly tasks in their daily lives that have been lost to modern society. You know, even the bikers used to prefer the Buck 110 as an EDC back in those days. You know, the 110 is easy to carry. You know, it didn't get in the way while riding like a lot of big fixed blade knives do. And more importantly, it did, you know, the Buck 110 didn't attract unwanted attention from the cops. You know, when trouble was possible, the bikers would take out their 110 and hold it tightly in their fists like that. You know, making it a punch enhancer if things got hairy. You know, also the thick brass bolsters on the 110 could easily be used to crack some skulls. You know, and if things got really hairy, the biker could reach over, deploy the blade, and be ready to take things to the next level. You know, the Buck 110s are also the focal point of many famous hunting stories. You know, the greatest 110 hunting incident happened in 1999 when a 68-year-old man named Gene Moe fought a 750-pound Kodiak grizzly bear to death with nothing but his fist and his buck knife. You know, that bear and that Buck 110 are still mounted on the wall today. You know, the Buck 10 has also been called the Winchester Model 70 of hunting knives, you know, and like the Model 70, the 110 is elegant, rugged, well-designed, and functional. Basically, it's an it's a really old design that nobody could improve upon. You know, and like the Model 72, the Buck 110 has stamped date codes so you could trace your knife's history. So, as you can see, even though the 110 is a damn good hunting knife, it's also somewhat of an American icon. You can't go wrong with the Buck 110 as a hunting knife.